Episode 257 of KT Confidential. We're talking about Airbnb. Have you had any experiences? We tell you what's happening in the market now. Yeah.
You drive me crazy.
Likewise, my friend. Article from The Atlantic, written by Kate Lindsay.
What is The Atlantic?
I don't know. Some kind of a publication.
Maybe we should
It's
vet the sources of information.
It's a magazine. It's a popular magazine.
It's a popular magazine.
Yes.
And I'm
Available-
curious what makes you think it's popular.
Available on Apple News.
So
Are we on Apple News?
are we popular because we're on Apple?
I don't know.
We're on Apple Podcasts.
Somebody's listening to us.
Or is it just us communicating with each other across the table?
Airbnb really is different now.
In a good way or bad way?
Both.
Okay. I feel like it's I don't say a dying industry, but that's why it's changing, because it's saturated. And it's like
There's a lot of controversy
it's evolving
around what's happening with Airbnb right now for a few reasons. One, there's a lot of, we'll call them renters, that are complaining about several things. One of them, let me ask you, when was the last time you were in Las Vegas?
I've been once and you were there.
Okay, so that was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Roughly. Since then, in Las Vegas, because certainly since COVID, and certainly since all of these new huge monster resorts have opened up, the strategy now for a lot of the, we'll call them less luxurious properties along the Las Vegas Strip, both downtown and on the Strip, they entice people with low room rates. So at the Excalibur, which is a dog shit hotel, you can rent a room for $29 a night.
Right. Because they're making money on the casino,
No,
on the food,
no,
on the prostitutes.
no.
What?
Cleaning fee. They call it a resort fee. Resort fee.
Oh.
So every room now along Las Vegas Boulevard charges what they call a resort fee.
So that would be like when you showed me prices of things selling on eBay, and one person sells it for $100 with free shipping, and one person sells it for $50 with $50 shipping.
Correct. So now you have the $29 room rate. So when you're looking for rooms and you're sorting by price, you'll see, $29.
Right.
You know how much that $29 room rate ends up being with resort fees and taxes and everything?
How much?
Almost $90.
So, but is that transparent in the process of booking?
So here is where Airbnb comes in, and what the hosts are doing right now is they are lowering their nightly rates,
Right.
and tacking on a cleaning fee
That's
on
smart.
top. Sure, it's smart because they have cleaning expenses. Most Airbnb hosts, good ones, have somebody go in after that renter has vacated.
Yeah. Or themselves. A lot of people self-manage,
That's true.
which they should still charge for.
Although the article does go on to talk about the fact that now larger companies are making up for a bigger portion of the Airbnb hosts. So these are companies that own 20 or 30 properties. They have managers in place. They have cleaning crew in place and all that. It's becoming more of a kind of like a boutique hotel spread across
That's how
different
it should
properties.
be marketed.
But the complaint here that Kate Lindsay has is she paid the $95 cleaning fee and still had to get rid of all the garbage, take out, debed de-linen the beds.
This is a requirement of booking?
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
Yes. And the feedback I'm getting from a lot of people, because I know quite a few people that Airbnb for business or whatever, or even pleasure, the level of attentiveness is no longer there. So when Airbnb started, 15 years ago, maybe it wasn't that quite long ago.
Are people not aspiring to be a superhost anymore?
Well, that's it. I know a lot of people that are superhosts. They meet the renters at the property to do a key exchange versus just giving lockbox access. They used to provide a little, call it a housewarming gift. Here's a pie from the bakery down the street. Give a little explanation of the property, of what's in the area. If this happens at the property, here's what you need to do to turn on the TV. The bunny ears need to be facing this way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Bunny ears are really outdated myself there, but you get the drift. So you're paying these cleaning fees. You're expected to clean after yourself, and you never meet the host. Not a very welcoming experience anymore. So the debate now is, or the discussions are, and you said this to me earlier, that Airbnb now is having a booking problem. Their booking rates have gone down. And that's because people are reverting back to getting that full service experience at hotels.
With certain exceptions, like there's certain types of properties.
Cottages.
Villas, whatever.
So here's
if you're
what's
looking
happening
in more
with
exotic
cottages.
places.
I agree. Here's what's happening with cottages.
Saturated.
Somebody like there's a lot of them. Why is that, Adrian?
Because everybody, when the rates were low, could afford to take
Buy the
home equity
cottage.
lines of credit and buy a cottage.
Mm-hmm.
And in many cases, it was their vacation spot because during COVID, they had nowhere else to go.
Yep.
And now rates are high, they can't afford them.
Yep.
So they're either going to sell them for less money than they paid,
Yep.
or they're going to try and rent it on Airbnb just to pay the bills,
Right.
which they're finding is probably not as practical as they thought or
And
hoped.
And do you think the owners of those properties live around the corner?
No, that's the other problem is, well, we know people that commute 3 hours to go clean the cottage before the next person
Yeah, call
moves
him
in.
out, Steve Cicchetto.
Steve Cicchetto.
Sometimes.
He'll drive his F-150 up to past Emsdale. I don't know what town it's actually. Berks Falls. And so that's over 3 hours. He's probably, I don't know, 50
He's not
bucks.
in Berks. Well, I don't know if that's considered Berks
50
Falls.
bucks of gas one way, at least $100 in
Yep.
total commute
Not including
costs.
407 if you take the 407.
Not
depending
including
on what time
407.
you
That's
go.
like another 30 to 50 bucks.
Yep. And how much time to clean it.
Right.
And when you're there cleaning, you find,
So if you're charging, if you're charging somebody a cleaning fee in those scenarios, it's going to be $300-400, which is probably not happening.
and then what if the renter at that point now has an issue 3 days in?
Right. Well, and back to his scenario as an
Toilet
example.
isn't flushing.
Well, back to his scenario is he doesn't do that regularly. He does it when he has to because he did have somebody or does have somebody that usually does it for him. But there are very few people up there that will do it, and even fewer reliable people.
Now, so what happens if you do have somebody? So now you're paying for that somebody.
Right.
And now your mortgage rates just went. What happens to property taxes? They're going up.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to leave some wood behind so that people can roast some marshmallows in the fire pit.
No. They have a vending machine of wood.
A vending machine at the cottage.
A wood vending machine.
Yeah.
$1 per log.
Yeah, it's called chipmunks. $1 per log. I'll give you $1 per log.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is the hosts are making less money, so they're being lazier. They're cutting out premium features that were previously offered, It's now offering a basic service.
Are they though, or are the people that are doing that just not getting any business?
Rental income for financing on anything else in your life, because I don't know too many financial institutions at standard rates that will consider short-term rental income, especially because there's no consistent income.
Well, if it's if it's a registered business,
If
and
it's
you
a
have
registered business and
long
you
enough-
have, if you have 2 years of average income that it says, okay, on average, this place is making $2,500 a week and it's a registered company and whatever.
But then your
that's
house is
different.
also potentially subject to HST, so you have to be very careful. Consult an accountant.
100% it is, because now it's a
I think
business.
it's if it's more than 50% of the time is occupied for that purpose.
Yeah, because then it becomes like a hotel.
Right. But how many people are claiming that?
Oh yeah, that's a
another
whole other
question.
topic.
That's another thing I don't understand is why municipalities don't go on to realtor.ca to Anyways, it's a common conversation, and in most cases, I advise people to opt for long-term rentals.
Well, your brother and sister Airbnb'd their properties and still used it personally themselves.
Yeah.
There's no difference. You're renting out a
That's true.
cottage. You're renting out a cottage to a nice young couple. They just got engaged. You think your UV light going in after them isn't going to pick some stuff up that wasn't there before?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Anyway, so the whole point of this, though, is that Airbnb is changing. What's out there on Airbnb is changing. How the hosts are handling their Airbnbs are definitely changing. There are people now really advertising room rentals versus whole home Airbnb. So they bought, in your scenario, they bought a home, mortgage rates went up, mortgage is unaffordable. So instead of not paying their mortgage, now they're renting a room.
Well, that was unheard of to see listings like that on MLS, but you go onto realtor.ca today, and I was looking at rentals yesterday in town here, and there are rooms listed for rent on realtor.ca.
Yeah.
$1,000 a room.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Would you ever rent your basement out?
Yeah.
You would?
Well, I didn't get permits, so I wouldn't do it illegally. I would do it. I would only do
Sure.
it if I
Yeah,
did
of
it
course.
properly, and it would be too much work to go through and get permits now.
Okay.
But otherwise, yes, absolutely.
I feel passionate about that.
Yeah, I've thought about it, and I've thought that would.
So what happens if you have some tenant in your basement
Yeah,
and they're not paying the bills?
that's a great question,
They're
Ariel.
living-
I'm glad you brought that up because this is a common conversation we have with landlords or prospective landlords. And my answer to it is, in the 13 years we've been in business, doing, in many cases upwards of 100 leases per year,
vetting.
we've had less than a handful of bad tenants.
Okay,
and
so-
the bad tenants
So I'm
aren't
just
that
asking
bad.
you, we're just on the record, off
It
the
wouldn't
record.
happen. And if I did,
If you did.
I
Exactly.
would.
So
I would either. I'd burn the
point
house
is,
down. That's the easiest way to get rid of a
Oh
tenant.
my God.
Rather than following the process and going
Cut
through
that
the
out of the
landlord-tenant board, I
podcast.
would burn the house down when I know everybody's out of the house,
Yeah.
and then I would just claim insurance.
Not after this podcast, you
rebuild.
won't.
No, not after this. It's easier to do that than evict somebody legally.
Yeah. So imagine you live upstairs with your family and you have Donkey Face downstairs that won't pay his rent and he's living underneath you. Can't evict him. He's not going. He owes you 12 months of rent now. You know he's there not paying his rent. You see him in your driveway when you go to work in the morning.
I mean, realistically, you'd have to go through the motions of. I wouldn't burn the house down. I'd go through the motions
You
of
would
getting
have
them
to go
evicted.
through the motions,
but that's
of
a
course,
good year-long process.
Yeah.
Realistically.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I would.
Now,
make
I
his-
can understand if you have a home where you're renting out the top and the bottom. We just did one of those on Goodwin.
Yeah, we were very, as always, but even more particular, and that's an interesting thing now with houses that are more than one unit and yet sharing certain utilities. So that's one
Or
component.
common areas.
Yeah, not so common, I think, in most cases, but it could happen. And
Driveways, common
but
area.
HVAC, right? Like you have to be really I know you can. You can't have a no pet clause, but I think in scenarios like that, you should almost be allowed to because of allergens.
Yeah.
If they have a dog upstairs, but the basement tenants
Yeah.
have
I'm
severe
highly
allergies.
allergic to a lot of cats.
Yeah, that would be a big issue.
When our neighbor here next door
Yeah, and there's
in
no
our office,
I don't think
you
we
can't
share
have pets in an office.
No,
And
well, not in these offices.
all the ductwork is connected.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, it is.
It's not because we have separate HVAC.
Well, something is fucking connected because anytime he had his cat there, I was
Yeah,
suffering.
I mean, if we open this, it's not sealed that well, I'm sure.
Right.
And his cat used to wander through the front hallway here.
Right.
Anyways.
Anybody have any interesting experiences of Airbnb renting or as a host? I think this is going to be a big topic over the next 12 months because I think Airbnb is noticing some changes too. And
Well, I think as with every industry, Airbnb is now going through an evolution where everybody was cashing in the beginning, and now there's hang on. Now it's reaching that point. I can't remember what the terminology is for that equilibrium, kind of where you're going to have people that are doing it right who make a lot of money, but they have to try a lot harder, and the people who think they're going to make a lot of money and don't put in the effort are going to go broke.
since 2015, and this would hold true to many municipalities in our region and across Canada. Since 2015, the number of Airbnb listings in the United States has jumped from roughly 150,000 to almost 1.5 million.
I was going to say 10 times.
It's exactly 10 times.
Yeah.
The one little blip in all of this is that a lot of municipalities are trying to eliminate short-term
Or
rentals.
Control.
Control.
Minimum
That's
stays.
a better word. Control.
Yeah. minimum stays, 30 days
Yes.
minimum, that sort of thing. And minimum number or maximum number of registered units
Yes.
and taxed on income.
Yeah. I think it should be allowed just taxed.
Well, I do agree with the maximum number because to a degree, because you don't want, especially in areas like, well, my dad lives in Tiny. So they put a cap of like 400 or 500 total units permitted. You have to have a license. There's only 400 or 500 licenses available. And that's reasonable because people do live there. And
Yeah.
you don't want these areas to become just undesirable.
Right.
And
But you do want them because you want the tourism, especially there.
yeah, it's a balance for sure.
Airbnb. What do you think? Any stories? I know some of us on the team.
I've never rented an Airbnb.
Yes.
You have?
Good experience.
Yeah.
Great experience, actually. So that was, I can't remember if that was the most recent experience. I've probably used it since then, but the one that comes to mind is when I rented that cottage, which was really a home, where I proposed to Natalie. And that was in a town. Oh man, what was the name of that town? It's about as north as Sudbury, but east of Sudbury. The lake was called Wanapate, I believe. Big lake. And this place was huge.
I remember. Didn't they have like a big Blackstone outside?
Yeah.
Remember stuff like you tell me
There
about.
was an outdoor kitchen that a lot of restaurants would be jealous of.
Yeah.
Fully covered with a, really is a big covered patio right off the back of the cottage overlooking the lake. It had a big flat stone grill, a deep fryer,
That's crazy.
full fridge system, a wood burning pizza oven. It was fantastic. Bar tap. Like,
Sounds like my kind of outdoor kitchen.
oh my God, it was fantastic. Wood burning pepperoni pizza, chicken wings in the deep fryer.
Did they have oil in it?
Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Interesting.
Fully equipped. And then upstairs there was a full gaming room with a pool table and air hockey and all kinds of stuff. 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms.
I think those places will still do well
Just
because
beautiful.
you'll get a lot of these big places with 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms where you can get 2-3 families,
families
renting
in.
it, and it's
Yeah.
the most feasible vacation for them.
Well,
and
I did
great
the
time.
math, and the difference, it still worked out with gas, food, alcohol, and then the rental. It was still cheaper than us going, and the fact that we could take the dog with us and that we weren't paying for parking and stuff like that. It still worked out cheaper to do that vacation. We were there for 7 nights. I can't remember how much it was. Obviously, it wasn't cheap, but it was still cheaper than going to a nice romantic 5-star all-inclusive somewhere south.
Was it worth it though when you don't have people waiting on you? Because that's a nice benefit. Not cleaning up after cooking and not making your bed and whatever.
Yeah. Different kind of spoiled. Different kind, because we rented a boat.
Private, relaxing, probably more so than all inclusive.
Yeah, cooking, like in the middle of the summer when you're at the cottage, how much are you really eating?
Well, and
to
if
throw-
you enjoy doing that,
Yeah, that's it. Well, when you have an outdoor kitchen like that and,
Yeah.
and you have the whole day, making a pizza is not a big deal, and that's lunch, right? So, no, when you have the amenities like that, then it's a little bit different.
got it.
Anyway, that's a wrap, folks. If you've had any experiences renting or being a host of Airbnb, let us know what you're seeing in the marketplace. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching listening to episode 257 of KT Confidential, the Real Estate Podcast.